let's get it.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, folks. This is our general session for MGCI for this month. I am in as host, and I will also be in along with Emily for updates and also as the speaker. I think we're going to reschedule Perla, but we're going to tackle the subject at hand and then bring her back in at another time. So as always on these, we have our event and digital code of conduct, making everybody welcome. Please use raise your hands and feel free to ask questions in the chat and all of that. But we keep it lovely on these calls, so we expect everybody to do so as well. All of these are recorded. We put them up on our community learning channel, so if you don't want to be recorded, please either leave the call or stay on mute. Speaker video and audio will be shown in the recordings, and any questions will also be shared, just so you know. Today we've got a few announcements, subcommittee updates. We'll talk about powering great sessions with speaker support, and then talk about a little bit about community events. Thank you to our MVPs and regional directors always for all your help and assistance. We love the MVP program and are always happy to have folks sharing all of their knowledge with everyone else. So thank you, folks, for that. Anybody new MVPs, we renew on the first of the month. So there have been some as far as October, and then will be some more on November 1st. So welcome to the program if you're new to that. Awesome. Our mission statement, which is currently under construction, as we say. So we're working on that, and a thank you to Russ for that. I think we're going to, as a board and regional leads, we're going to do some looking at that over the next few weeks before our next meeting. So just looking at that to refine and make it a little bit more crisp. So coming soon. But we are here to help with amplification for events and helping event producers, really work in their communities and put on a lot of these free technical events. And so sharing best practices and playbooks and resources and all of that stuff is the mission of MGCI. Feel free to join our newsletter. We have a mailing list. We have two places. We've got a mailing list that goes out via email once a month for a newsletter. And then we also post that same newsletter up on the Microsoft Tech community and our MGCI community hub. And then we'll get into behind the mic powering great sessions with speaker support. So I'm going to go in and we'll do a version of this, and then Perla's going to come back and give her version of it at another time. So I think, with supporting and setting up speakers for success, there takes some logistics planning and technical readiness on the back end for working with speakers. So it's sort of like what you're doing behind the scenes to get ready to bring speakers into the fold, to invite them into calls for content, to make sure you're ready to do scheduling once you do have speakers. During the event itself, making sure you have real-time technical assistance and communication with the speakers, so that you're having good transitions between them. And then lastly, doing follow-up, sharing any feedback with them that was collected during the event, and then also asking them for their feedback to see how they, enjoyed the experience from you as a producer. A few things for, a pre-event checklist, which out of this, I want to make sure that we put one up in our resources area. But, a lot of the times the speaker journey starts with thinking about how many sessions you're going to have at an event, right? That's kind of number one. So, and that goes back to, your venue and how many rooms you have and all those sorts of things. And so, a lot of these one-day events, you can have, a keynote room. And then, maybe you have 2 tracks because you have 2 rooms, or maybe you have 5 tracks because you have 5 rooms. You'll set up yourself for success and sort of understanding your skeleton, right? And then, when do you want to start? Is the keynote across everything at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., which, a lot of people start a little bit, have breakfast and registration at 7 or 8, start at 9. Then you'll get into, your keynote or maybe opening. So maybe your keynote's at the end, but your opening. Then you'll think about, all right, we're going to do, say it's 5 tracks, and we're going to have, there's a time enough with a lunch and some breaks and all of that. So you got 5 sessions or 4 sessions in 5 tracks. So 5 times 4 is 20, right? So you're going to have 20 sessions. And because you're going to do, I don't know, 45-minute or an hour or, excuse me, 50-minute sessions or whatever, or you could do short half hours, right? So you got to do the math and you kind of I like to do it in a Excel spreadsheet because you can kind of see things and move things around and think through the timing. So that's one thing you need to think about before even, getting to some of the speaker stuff, right? So knowing how many sessions you're going to want, how long they are, all of that. And then, thinking about how you're going to do a call for content. Calls for content with free events. A lot of the times these days, people are leveraging Sessionize, and Sessionize is a third-party tool that people leverage for calls for content. It's great. It's free for free events. It's very easy to use. And a lot of people, you would put in, this is my event. These are the criteria that we're looking for. We're looking for sessions that are about Microsoft 365, OneDrive, SharePoint, Azure, whatever the, the topics of the event are. And then any sort of, give gets with speakers. Sometimes in the paid events, there'll be some contracts and you have to do so many events and you get a free pass. That's kind of on the paid producer side. With the free events, it's kind of like logistics, there'll be a speaker dinner, which is a lot of times what people do with the one-day community days. And so you'll have all of that information in there. And then that call for content goes out. So once you have that done, you can understand, speaker availability and session specifics when the call for content starts coming in and you start looking at, how many, and you'll have an opening of the call for content and a closing date for the call for content. And then you can start evaluating, right? And understanding the choosing of speakers for your event. A lot of people do this in a committee as far as choosing the sessions. And sometimes you'll do it with taking the names off of it so that it's it's more anonymous and maybe not as biased, if you will. So some people do it that way. Other people, there's many ways to do the choosing of the sessions. I think it's a nice combination is to kind of maybe do it without names first, see what comes up, and then I like it when folks ensure that there's a good, a mixture of people. Maybe there's some, new speakers who've never spoken before, and maybe you have some of your, your diehards that, people are going to attract people to your event. Making sure that there's a nice mix between men and women, and, potentially just looking at your diversity for your speakers as well is a great thing to keep in mind as well. So once you've got all that done, then you get into the, sharing the logistical information. So I love working in Word, really creating that event overview of here's the name of the event, here's the venue, here's the time, here's the date, here's the parking information, kind of all of the who's who in the zoo, the who, what, where, when of the event, right? Having that in one document that you use as your anchor is really, I think, important. Typically, I will do a Word document that's like an event overview that's got everything in it. We do have a template for that, I believe, up on the site, and if not, we can do that as well. But the other thing I also like to do is I use Excel for, for making tables, basically, and, keeping like contact information and pulling things out of Sessionize and stuff. So I think having all your logistical information in sort of one place for giving it out, and then also collecting information about people in a spreadsheet is really good to do as well. You're also going to want to collect, when are you going to, are you going to do tech checks? What's the AV like? What's in the room? Making a list of like, just for the speakers, because they're going to ask you, is there a screen and a projector, or is it a, big monitor? Is it an HDMI connection? Will there be Wi-Fi? Will there be Ethernet hardline plug-in? Will it be a podium? Will it be a table? Will there be chairs? How many people fit in the room? Is it a boardroom setup? Is it a theater style? Is it a classroom? And all those things, gathering that information together, those are things that speakers are going to want to know. Do you provide a clicker? Or do you bring your own? Is there going to be a speaker template, a PowerPoint template that you're going to give them? Is it a full template, or are you going to give them, a title slide and a thank you sponsor slide and maybe something else? So gathering up that information in one document that you can send to them is really important. And you can do it depending on how much information you have at the time. You can, once you choose your speakers through the call for content, you can send out a welcome and, congratulations, you've been chosen to speak. Yay. And that can have sort of the basics in it. If you're not ready to do like all the AV and all of that stuff, that's fine. You can send out more than one communication to them. But I think it's good to have that one document that you can kind of cut and paste from, and then you can decide like how many communications you're going to send to them. Maybe the welcome is like, welcome, here it is, yay. You're going to want them to accept the session too. In Sessionize, you can do that. You can have somebody, you can tell them that they've been chosen and they can accept the session, which makes it really nice because you know that they're like, yes, I'm going to do it, right? So then you can send out maybe that secondary communication. Maybe that's got your speaker dinner in it, right? And you've sent out, maybe you're going to use either Eventbrite or Evite or something like that to do registration around your speaker dinner. Basically, are you going to come so that you can plan for that? Maybe you then have all of the information about, the AV in the different rooms, and then you can also, once everybody accepts, that's when you start scheduling, right? You schedule the different areas and you schedule your sessions in your, overall schedule. And then you can let people know when they're going to speak. You can also ask them in those comms, like, do you have any conflicts? Do you need to, be earlier in the day or later in the day or anything like that? The other thing is with Sessionize, which is really cool. So it's sessionize.com, very easy to find in a browser. People can create a listing there. So like I have a listing on Sessionize that is my picture, my job title, and my bio. So when I do see calls for content, and they come out, I can use my session. I can log into Sessionize and I can, or, click the call for content button. And because I'm already a speaker in the Sessionize system, my stuff is there already. So my bio, my picture, and all of that. So, but you're going to want to gather those up from your speakers as well. Anywho, there's a lot to pre-event, as you can see. You can hear. So this is, jumping in a little bit to, during event. So that's all that pre-prep work to get everybody ready, what the comms are to send out to people. Welcome. Here's the, specifications, probably a reminder email, about getting things done and bringing your, your PowerPoints in. Some people collect PowerPoints and put them up later for folks to use. It depends on the producer. During the event, making sure that when speakers come in, they've got badges. It's nice sometimes to put the badges separate from other folks so that there's a separate speaker line. Some things that are nice to do on the back end, speaker gifts are something that a lot of people do. It doesn't have to be expensive. I think sometimes a thank you note and a, I don't know, a nice piece of candy or whatever, or sometimes people do gift cards, all that sort of thing. Something specific from that area, like a hat or something, those things are nice to do. So having those for when speakers join, usually there's a speaker room. So a place where speakers can go that's away from everybody else, where they can work and they can like prep and all of that stuff and put their things. That's great to have on site as well. So, greeting everybody, making sure they know, where they're going. I know that we try to get away from paper as much as possible, but I do think that a printed agenda at these events is really a good thing. Try not to print too many, but I think a printed agenda and a map of the place is really important, not just for speakers, but for attendees as well. Signage can also be expensive. So I think, potentially just using paper to print signs and instead of like maybe doing foam core, something to think about in your budget as a producer. Technical teams, a lot of the times the producers act as the AV people. So, if you have AV folks, if it's a Microsoft Office, sometimes the AV people will be there, sometimes not. If it's a college, depending. But what's great is that, most speakers have, been on the circuit for a while, and everybody really helps each other. So, and sometimes you'll have new speakers, so that may not know how to, do the control or do the Windows P and extend versus duplicate and all of that stuff. So, making sure that there's enough space in between sessions and making sure that speakers move out of the way for the next person is really important. So, as a speaker, etiquette is when you're done speaking, yes, there's going to be a million people that probably want to come talk to you and all of that, but etiquette is get your stuff, move to the side and let the other speaker come in and get set up so that they have a really good experience. And if there's AV problems, we just help each other, especially at events that are a little smaller that don't have like fully produced AV teams. Um, I think, if you can, have a buddy, one of the other speakers. Hey, will you come in and, be in my session with me, take some pictures, help me if somebody's having some like, if there's sound issues and I need you to run and go get somebody, maybe if there's questions, you want to write them down so I can remember later. It's nice to have a moderator, if you will. And I think, speakers can sometimes buddy up in speaker rooms and ask each other to do that. And I think that's really cool. That's something you could also facilitate before in your speaker communications. Like, hey, if you want a buddy, like maybe, here's all the rest of the speakers, maybe reach out to somebody or maybe establish that at the speaker dinner, especially if there's new people and haven't spoken before, you can say, hey, everybody, let's buddy up and who's gonna, go to the other person's session kind of thing. I think that's really nice. It's also helpful with, if you're doing any sort of Q&A and you want to take if there's a lot of the times microphones will be a lavalier mic, which, clips right here. Some will be handheld. And so a lot of the times, for doing Q&A, if you're doing Q&A in an audience, having somebody help run the microphone Oprah style out is a really good thing to do too. And then, following up after the event, a couple of things also about on-site at the event, having someone count how many people are in the rooms. I think that's a good thing to do. So having somebody assigned to that on your producer team of like going in and seeing how many people were in each room will give you really good information for next time. So I think that's a really good thing to put on your checklist as well. And then for post-event, I think another communication going out that says thank you is really nice. And also I love it when producers do a blog post, kind of to kick off the things like here's what's going on at our event, and everybody can leverage this. So any of you who are working on events, we've got an AKA link there with a form where if you want to push out some information on your event on our social media channels that we run for Microsoft Community. So say you put a blog post up, maybe, and as we're like looking at the MGCI tech community space, or you have your own website or LinkedIn group, all of that, but you want to amplify it. So before the event, so excited, this is happening, part of your marketing and comms plan. Afterwards, like putting something up that is like, hey, this is what happened at the event, and here's some pictures, and it was really great, that kind of thing. That's all good stuff to do. And when you're doing things on LinkedIn, tagging people at mentioning them in the post is always great because then it pops up and then they can reshare it right to their followers. So that's a really cool thing to do. So thank you notes and blogs on like recap, if you will. If most of the time these sessions or these smaller events, our community days events, don't have like a full blown, people don't have enough budget to do like a full recording and that kind of thing of all of the sessions. Wouldn't that be nice? But not most of the time, not possible. But a lot of times people will share the PowerPoints. So if you're collecting those, a lot of times people will either collect them in OneDrive. There's also SlideShare. There's a few other places where you can do that sort of thing. With feedback, great question, Russ. I think a couple of things. You should have a slide with a QR code with a survey for feedback that goes into every speaker slide deck that they show either at the beginning or the end. A lot of the times what I'll do is I'll flash it at the beginning potentially, but then when I'm finishing up before my kind of last words of wisdom that I'm talking about, I'll put that slide up and ask for feedback kind of like maybe 10 minutes before I'm done. And take a second and let people take a picture of it or let them, get to it. I think that's really cool. And then as an organizer, you should absolutely have some sort of a contest. So, and a lot of times people will do prizes at the end of an event where it's kind of like a raffle contest, right? Where if you've filled out the survey, your name goes in a draw and they draw a bunch of for prizes. And a lot of times sponsors will bring prizes to be raffled off. So I think that's a good way. I think incentives are important with surveys for sure. You can do the same thing. And, we use Microsoft Forms for that almost exclusively. And so I think after, sending your thank you as well, you could also do a speaker survey. You could do the same thing. You could, ask the speakers, did you like the venue? How was the experience? All of those sorts of things. And you can do an incentive there too, like, but we're going to do a drawing for X thing, everybody who fills it out. I will tell you, getting feedback is hard. It's not easy. A lot of people, they're like, we love feedback and we love doing surveys. But the truth is that sometimes when you out of sight, out of mind. So to me, incentives and a decent incentive helps, but it also isn't always going to guarantee feedback. And I think, on thinking about it as an organizer later, you can look at, feedback that's come in, feedback from the attendees. You can also look at how many people were in each room. That's why you do a room count. And that will help you and tell you about, speakers, the different subjects and all of that stuff so that for next time, you can think about, if there's any changes or things you want to bring to the table. Hey, speaking of feedback, looky there, there's feedback about our general sessions. And these are meant to gather feedback for us on if you like these sessions and if you want to see different things. So I think, is that the end of it? Yeah, cool. So any questions or comments we want to take a minute to chit chat about some of this stuff, y'all? Resonate? Any questions or any thoughts that you have, things that, work with you, like setting up speakers for success? Happy to hear. And if not,
Heather,
we
I'll
can.
just add that I think that, you want to pump your speakers, make it a great experience for them, give them as much information ahead of time and prep them because it just makes for a smoother event and then you get better feedback. But I do think even whatever feedback you get is golden, right? I mean, because you can make adjustments and make it a better experience the next time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the more information you can put together ahead of time, especially if you're doing something year over year, and the more information you can give people, the less questions you have to answer too, right? Because we like the constants are true. Everyone's super busy. A lot of people are doing these things aside from work and family and everything, all the other obligations they have, right? A lot of this stuff is volunteer. So I think the more information, I think over communicating is fine, and they will tell you like too many emails, but for the most part, I think people love that and to be reminded, of certain things that need to get done. As a speaker, for the most part, it's, accepting your session, making sure your bios and headshots are up to date, responding to speaker dinner invitation if there is one, um, and making sure your session's great and getting to the event on time and showing up. Those are kind of the main things, and then hopefully survey and feedback. And also one of the things you can do is in your speaker thank you, if you have it. I think a speaker thank you should go out pretty quickly if possible, kind of right after the event. And then once you have the feedback from any surveys that you've taken, you can then send out individual emails to people and say, hey, here's the feedback that we got. You can even do those in kind of a mail merge kind of thing too, if you wanted, to send out, or if you're using some sort of a CRM tool. or, like an email tool like Constant Contact, or, different things like that for sure as well. So I should go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that I would add is when I was in Nashville and we did our first SharePoint Saturday, we reached out to Kathy because we hadn't put out an event before like that. And so I would definitely recommend reaching out to someone who's already held an event so that, they can give you some insight on things that they didn't think about.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think, I think part of what we're trying to do with this program too is, be a resource for others, right? And,
Sure.
that's right. And I think that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing I was thinking about too, is that doing like talking about the, my goodness, the communitydays.org, like there's the names of the organizers, right, are on each of the events. And I think us as regional leads, I think also could reach out to them, or they could reach out to us, and doing a better job of maybe connecting those dots a little bit too, right? Because there's a lot of people, right,
Yeah.
who've done events in the past who might not have, um, who you can just learn a ton from as well. So yeah, great point. And Russ, yeah, I agree. It is nice to have someone in the room that can encourage engagement. I've often been called the plant in the audience, because I will laugh, or, like sometimes it's like so quiet, right? And you're like, you can see, there's like, it's like everybody, and it's sometimes it's just because it's the morning and people haven't had enough coffee, or it's after, lunchtime and people are a little sluggish or whatever, because, people just ate or whatever. So it is having a buddy, in the room with you to, even vocalize or clap or something, to kind of get the energy, sometimes is really helpful. So yeah, for sure. So these are our subcommittee leaders, our board members, and I think there's a lot of people out today. So I think I'm going to be doing a bunch of these. But we have 5 subcommittees: communications and amplification, sponsorships and sponsors, technology and tools, which also includes communitydays.org, training, and then regional leader leads as well. So we'll go into some of these updates. We got our October newsletter was sent. We try and send them at the beginning of the month. Was sent via email. It was also sent on the Microsoft Tech community. We had a 34% open, 4.8 click. Those are great numbers for opens and clicks. We've got about 1,100 folks in that email list, and yeah, so that was sent out, and we'll be prepping for November coming up here soon. Communications also has, we're working on our mission statement as well. So that survey is going to go out to regional leads and board members, I think sometime later this week, if not actually next week, so that we can work on that before our next meeting. So that's comms. Oh, actually, one other thing is that we're going to work on, we've got the back end set up for potentially some blogging on the community hub as well for our board members and regional leaders. So more to come on that in our next meeting. Yeah, I'm excited about that too. So that'll be great. Sponsors and sponsorships. There's a new member, Neil Patel, who is part of the committee. I know that they've been doing some interviews of people, different sponsors, to get some information about what sponsors are looking for and what it's like to be a sponsor. So coming soon there, which is great. So that'll be more information coming. There's our beautiful communitydays.org site. Happy anniversary, communitydays.org. We celebrated that at the Experts Live event in New York City. There was a blog post that went out about this that I'll put in the chat here, but it was really exciting. So just a big yay to everybody. I internally posted this as well, and had some nice response from Jeff Teeper, our president of M365. So he's a big fan and was really excited to see us posting about that. So yeah, so that was great. Let's see if I have the blog post up here. Yeah, here we go. Let me get this for everybody so you can go check that out. Just a big kudos, Tom Daly, who is one of our board members and who, continuously runs the communitydays.org, and so many of you who are on this call help with, QA and, features and making sure that site is running beautifully. So, yep. And there's, yes, and there's some stickers, and I'm going to put the sticker PDF and pings up as well for folks. Let me get this blog post up. And we'll be working on bringing stickers around to different events, as it were, but just a big yay on that. So happy anniversary, communitydays.org. Yay. So awesome. Let's see. So getting into the major upgrades in August that have happened on communitydays.org. Tom and team have been working on image optimizations with next.js. So there's like easier resizing and faster quality on uploads, which is great. There's like more, there's overlay, darkening, and lightening for accessibility purposes. So keeping our eyes on accessibility, which is great. The mobile event tab menu, Daniel Glenn, thank you so much for that. So that's been fixed and updated. And Samir was helping with the speaker board sort and filter that we have, and then just tons of regular bug fixes for reporting as well. So that was rolled out. What's in the previous slide? They're working on being able to save an event as a draft at any point. So if you're filling out the form to load up an event on communitydays.org, instead of being able to, if you just need to save it, you can do that at any point. That functionality has not been there, so that's getting worked on right now. Currently we are not listing user groups and user group meetings on communitydays.org. That's all happening on the Microsoft Tech community. Been keeping this to be just events that are longer than 4 hours, like one day and then multiple day events. In Sessionize, because we're using an API to pull in events from Sessionize as well. There's a flag for something that's a user group meeting, because user groups sometimes also use Sessionize to manage their events. And so he's been working on that. I think there's been some indexing on the back end that they're trying to optimize, and then also looking at badges for top speakers and top organizers. And so they're working on the criteria around that on the back end as well, which is great. Shout outs. Thank you to our monthly volunteers. I believe this is who helped out this month and what they worked on. So thank you, Samira, Carl, Jamel, Mike, Martin, Daniel, Glenn. If we've missed anybody, please let me and Tom know or put it here in the chat. But thank you everybody for your help. This is awesome. So, people are helping keep communitydays.org moving forward, new features and looking good and working well for everybody. So thank you for that, everyone. A few more people. We're always looking for more people to help with that kind of thing. And it's a fun group to help, and it's people, you learn stuff. There's this is an active site that's being worked on and kept up and stuff. So if you want to learn about keeping up a site like this on the back end and working with it, it's definitely something to sign up for if you want. Let's see. We will have the next training, which is coming up on the 30th, which will be a spooky one. I recommend costumes. I'm just saying. So Sharon and Wes are going to have Christian Buckley on, who is another Microsoft MVP, talking about marketing and social media. So that's going to be a great one. And then there's a bit of a holiday break, and then coming back in January and February, they're going to set up some Ask Us Anything panels, one on sponsors, and then what to do on the day of an event run of show. If there are other topics that you would like to hear about coming up in the new year, there's a QR code and a link there. You can put in anything that you would like to hear for Wes and Sharon to bring to the table. So that'll be great. I think just to make sure that everybody knows that we have a community hub off on the Microsoft Tech community. And so that's something that you can go in. You can see here, this is a screenshot, and you can see my name up there where it says Heather Cook, kind of at the top right. So that's my handle and login for the Microsoft Tech community, techcommunity.microsoft.com. This is our community platform where there's forums, there's blogs. It's where our product team blogs. There's, every product pretty much under the sun has got a space here. There's all kinds of things you can log in and go to our community hub for MGCI. This is fairly new, but there's blog posts, there's a place for discussions, and then a listing for all the events like this, like General Session and the training. Those go up there as well. And this, for those of you who are regional leads and board members, is going to be the place where we're going to look at blog authoring for all of you. So that's going to be really exciting. So I'm looking forward to getting that turned on. To get updates on this space, Emily, will you go back one slide for me? This is awesome. See that follow button there where the big the arrow is? So when you're on and logged in and you go to our community hub to follow, you need to click that button, and then you'll be following this site, and it'll show up in your community hubs collection that you follow as well. So terrific. Really excited about this. We've got a new resource page up on the adoption.microsoft.com space that we have that talks all about MGCI. So general sessions and event training and office hours, both the slides and the recordings have links there now, and we're working on getting those up after each event that we have like this every meeting. And then also resources, there's some spreadsheets and Word documents and templates and all of that. So for event producers to use. So very excited about this. We're going to continue adding to this, and hopefully out of like all the meetings from the general session, like speaker resources, we can put up a new checklist about that. For marketing and social media that Wes and Christian and Sharon are going to do. We'll hopefully get some sort of resource out of that, maybe another checklist kind of thing that can all go up there. So definitely check that out, bookmark it. Super duper excited that we got that done over the summer. So there we go. Ignite is coming up, y'all. It's gosh, just a few weeks away in November. I can't believe it's like mid to late October. We blinked and that happened, I think. But Ignite is both online and in person. It's in San Francisco. You can definitely log in. The session catalog is up, I believe, this week. The dates and times of things are going to light up if they haven't already. But what's really cool is that we have a community hub there, and there's a lot going on at Ignite for this coming year. We've got a watch party too that's happening. Patrick, do you want to talk about the watch party that's in DC?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Heather, for the call out there.
Yeah.
So very, very exciting. We've partnered with the local Microsoft Innovation Hub just outside of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. We did this last year for Ignite, and we had such a great group that we teamed up to do one for Build as well. So the idea is, we're kind of aligning with these flagship events that Microsoft has. And, the keynotes and some other core sessions are live streamed. And so we kind of build an agenda and we live stream those, keynotes and general sessions, but also have a panel of experts, MVPs, MCTs, et cetera. And so we're there to talk about all the latest buzz around the events, and also have, some targeted sessions around things like, I think, Copilot, Power Platform, things like that. So just a fun kind of mini, might call it micro community day that we're able to put together.
And then there's an article about community at Ignite, which is a page up on the Ignite site. And that's going to continue to get updated with what's going on. Yeah, so we'll do that too. There are all the dates that we know of thus far. Build still is a TBA. Don't know the dates on that yet. But as soon as I do, we'll definitely keep sharing those. And let's see, what else do we have? Anyway, here's our board officers. All right, everybody, we're going to close up our general session for this month for October. Thank you, everybody. And we will check you out in the community soon over on the MTC for sure. So appreciate everybody.